Hey everybody, welcome back. Darwin here on your weekly or bi-weekly real estate update market report on the COVID-19 impact of real estate here in the GTA. But before I jump into the statistics for this segment, I want to touch on interest rates just ever so briefly because there has been some speculation that we may see a further drop in interest rates next month. We'll pay attention for that announcement, and another one further in the year, probably toward the end of the year. So, and the reason for that is because we want to continue to see the economy boosted. We want consumers to participate and help the economy to continue to move forward. And until we have a cure for the COVID-19, I don't expect that we're going to see interest rates go up anytime soon. So, but we will pay attention to that. Let's jump into the statistics here for this period of time. And we're going to start off with Mississauga. Mississauga, we have condominiums here in the last 2 weeks. How have they been performing? So one of the things we can see is there's been an increase in the number of listings. So rather in the number of sales, we have also seen an increase in the number of listings. But in the last couple of weeks, we look at 16 sales in week 11, 13 in week 12. And so there's definitely an increase that's pretty much doubled from the 2 previous weeks. Looking at how they're performing, those that have sold, 56%, 31% over the last couple of weeks. There's a little bit of an increase there in week 11, but for the most part, that has remained the same. This represents the number of homes that have sold for the listed price or above. So that remains at about 1/3 of those homes that have sold are selling for the listed price or above, which is I think a healthy number. The average listed price here, we're looking at homes of condominiums in Mississauga between 500,000 to 600,000. We're going to look at 3 municipalities, which is Mississauga, Brampton, and Toronto. And I'm going to look at a few segments, the ones that typically are the higher performing ones that we're just going to analyze because they give us a good indication of what's happening in the market overall. And so over the last couple of weeks, the average home sale price for these condos that have sold, 556 week 11, 556 week 12. So wow, that's pretty interesting. Both weeks they remain the same, and that represents looking at how does that compare to the actual listed price. Well, in week 11 it was 5,000 below the listed price. In week 12, 7,000 below the listed price. So not too far off what this listed price is, but looking at how the overall trend, 556, 556. So looking at where things, we saw 535, 529 seem to have been the lows. That was in mid-April, the 535, mid-May. But for the most part, once the pandemic hit, we did see a huge drop in volume, but the prices, quite honestly, overall have remained fairly stable. If anything, they look like they're beginning to rebound and tick upwards with the Mississauga condo market. Let's look at Mississauga homes, priced between $700,000 to $800,000. Last couple of weeks, same thing. Look at this pattern once again. The number of home sales in Mississauga, homes between $700,000 to $800,000. We saw 13 in week 11, 12 in week 12. So that was an increase over the previous weeks. Okay, it's not quite double, but it is up there. So looking at the number of homes that have sold for listed price or above, 54% in week 11, 33% in week 12. Kind of what's been the trend overall? It's kind of really been all over the place. Doesn't really seem to be a consistent trend. Week to week we're seeing, what some weeks are just performing better than others. The average list price, that we don't ever really see much changes in list prices. No homeowner ever thinks their home is worth less. And so a lot of times buyers, unfortunately, base their view of the market on looking at listed prices. But that typically does not trend downwards. And if it does, it's very subtle. The big difference we would see is in sale prices. So looking at the sale prices, we've got 766 in week 11, 794. Wow, that picked up quite a bit in week 12, which ended my recording here June the 2nd. So that's when I ended week 12. And so both those weeks, the average sale price performed better than the average list price by $4,000 in week 11, by $7,000 in week 12. So this is a pretty healthy indication for Mississauga homes priced between $700,000 to $800,000, okay, which is the entry point in Mississauga. These homes have been performing pretty steady, but they certainly are down from prior to the pandemic, which was we were approaching $800,000. So although prices have dropped, 794, we're getting back up there again. So that might be an indication that we're starting to see maybe a little bit more buyer confidence. And certainly as we're beginning some of the phases of reopening, businesses, people going back to work gradually, this may be simply an indication of a little bit of that consumer confidence returning. Mississauga, the $1 million market, these are homes between $1 to $2 million. So week 11 and week 12, we saw 19 homes, 24 homes, which, yeah, it is a subtle and steady increase from what we saw in week 8, week 9. Week 10, we did see quite an increase to 33. It has dropped from week 10. But looking at the homes in the $1 million market, $1 to $2 million homes, priced homes, we are seeing 16% in week 11 of those sold for the listed price or above, 25% this past week 12 here, which is actually a very healthy number when you're looking at homes in this price range, that 1 in 4 of them are selling for the listed price or above. So that's pretty healthy. Looking at the average sale price, 117, 1307. So this is kind of, these are, we've got quite a difference in with these, but trying to look at the overall picture, this segment of the market overall, this is probably here as I look at right across the board, looks like week 11 might have been the biggest drop. But once again, when you're seeing a drop like that and it's just for 1 week, but all around it, we're seeing, prices to be reflective of more in line with what was happening prior to. It simply tells you that the market has remained very strong. These homes have retained their price. There is enough of a demand out there and enough of a belief in buyers to think that they value these homes at this price. And I say that because homes are worth what people are willing to pay for them. And so although the volume dropped substantially, overall prices have remained fairly strong. The dips have been fairly small. And that's pretty much what I had predicted. I didn't expect to see any major drops. I think overall I have seen 5 to 8%. I had predicted 8 to 10% on the high end. I didn't really see prices dropping higher than an 8 to 10% drop. And there is, we're still amidst this pandemic, and we'll see what will happen. There's obviously the thoughts and potential fear of a resurgence of things in the fall. So I think there's a lot of things that are still to be seen. So we're going to keep an eye on that, and the market, I'm sure, will reflect that. But looking at Brampton, here homes between $700,000 to $800,000, weeks 11 and 12, 22, 30 in week 12. So we saw an uptick in the number of home sales in this segment of the market, 36%, 43%, which is pretty healthy. 1/3, a little bit more than 1/3, almost half of the homes that sold have sold for the listed price or above. So this segment of Brampton, $700,000 to $800,000 priced homes, is performing pretty good, and prices seem to have not dipped a whole lot. Looking at 751, the average sale price, 764 average sale price. So once again, we're really seeing this number overall, 758, 757, 751. You know, we're not really seeing I think 741. Looking at, yeah, 741 is the lowest drop we've seen. That was in the middle of May. Now as we're entering June, we're starting to see that begin to pick up a little bit. So once again, indications that possibly the market is beginning to rebound. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on things week to week. But it's a very balanced market. You know, I see good news for both segments of the market. I see good news for buyers because I do see there's buying opportunities here for buyers to get a home much lower than they would have if this pandemic was not going on. You know, I'd expect to see these numbers easily $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 more than what we're seeing right now. But things have been able to reach a certain level and then retain and stay there and not drop beyond that point. So the good news for sellers and good news for buyers are really, I think it's a very balanced, looks like a very balanced market to me as I look at the numbers. Looking at Brampton, homes between 801 and 900,000. In weeks 11 and 12, we saw an increase once again. The number went to 20 in week 11, dropped back to 12 in week 12, 30%, 42%. So about 1/3 of the homes that did sell sold for the listed price or above. Looking at the average sale price, $851 for these homes, $868. So we saw, what was the low point? Looks like 838 and 842 was what we did see in 836 over in April. But it really, mid 830s was the low point for the drop in prices. These homes were headed towards $800,000 in prices. They have dropped on average down to the 850s, 860s. That's kind of what we're seeing. So, once again, it's good news for buyers. You can buy these same properties on average $40,000 to $50,000 less than you would in a different climate. For sellers, it's good news because we're seeing prices not drop below a certain level, and so that threshold there is being held intact. So that's important, and that's good news. Let's go on and look at Toronto. What do we got here? All right. So Toronto, these are Toronto homes between $800,000 to $900,000, week 11 and week 12. Once again, there's the uptick, 24 sales, 26 sales. So we are beginning to see a little bit more activity. We've seen that over the last couple of weeks. In this segment, this Toronto market performs very well. Look at the number of homes that have sold at listed price or above. 63% of those, 50% of these homes have sold for the listed price or above. That's really good, very strong. The Toronto market, priced within this range, have done very well, continue to do well. So if you're a seller, it's good news for you. And if you're a buyer, you're looking at 960, 936, 939. So we were kind of in the nines. Right now we're at 898, 892, 867. So the really high eights. So, we're probably looking at a difference somewhere in there of between $30,000 to $40,000 shift in prices here for homes in this segment, which is not huge when you're looking at something that's worth almost $900,000 for it to drop $30,000. It's a great savings as a buyer. I'm saving myself $30,000 as a seller. You're negotiating $30,000 below what you may have listed, which is not that big of a deal when you're looking at things that are priced this high. So good news, I think, for both sides, both buyers and sellers, opportunities. The market in Toronto, these are the condominiums priced between $500,000 to $600,000. Wow, look at that increase, 49 sales week 11, 45 sales week 12. So that's quite an uptick there. 49%, I guess here, zero. So that means this is interesting. In week 12, there were no sales of homes that sold for the listed price or above. right, interesting. I'd have to go back and look at that again. That's interesting. No sales above that, because previously the lowest we were was at 31%. Okay, I'd have to take a look at that again. But 560,000, 563,000 listed price. Looking at the sale price, 563, 559. You know, both weeks have sold below the average listed price, but look at the difference here. It's $3,000 or $4,000. So this one should actually be in yellow, but not a big difference. You know, whether it's selling above $3,000 or selling below $4,000. Once again, we're remaining within a $5,000 um, uh, difference here. And so when you're looking at that, and think about when you're negotiating, if you could sell your home and you negotiate $5,000 less, you know, that's great. You've pretty much sold for your asking price. If someone's giving you an extra $5,000, that's great. You've made a few extra $1,000 to put in your pocket. So pretty much what we're seeing here with the Toronto condo market, overall, this market has been a really good one for buyers, because this segment of the market, you know, we have seen a decent price drop, but we are seeing that now leveling off, and which is good news for sellers. And so there we go. So that's our market update for this week. I thank you for joining me. If you do have areas of the GTA that you have particular interest in, whether as a buyer, seller, or an investor, please reach out to me. Let me know, because as you can see, different areas, different municipalities, but more importantly, different pockets within those municipalities do perform a little bit different. And it's important to know what is going on in your area. So don't just kind of go by some headlines. And I know that the TREB sends up their market update every once a month, and most people at least look at them once a month. And but that's an overall market assessment. And so hopefully you're finding this very helpful to you as you try to gauge what's going on in the market and make some decisions. But thank you for joining me, and I looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time.